Welcome to this AppSense demonstration. Over the next 10 minutes I'd like to show you how allowing AppSense to manage your users can not only reduce the cost and complexity of migration, but also show you how virtualizing your users will mean you never need to migrate again, whilst also enriching the user's experience. In this demo environment, my existing desktop is a Windows XP machine with Office 2003. The user that I'm logged on as, myself, Tom Skase, I've already personalised this desktop. If I go into my first application, Microsoft Outlook 2003, I've made some modifications to this application. I've moved the reading pane to the bottom. If I go to send a new email, we can see I've already set up my signatures. If I go to send an email to somebody that I've already sent an email to in the past, the NK2 file gives me options or suggestions on who I want to send that to. If I also take a look in my calendars, I've set up some shared views of my calendars for a couple of my colleagues, and here you can see that these are set currently to month view. If I go into Internet Explorer, I've also got some favourites set up which I want to capture and persist onto my new desktop, and I may also want to change the home page. So I'm going to actually change this and set it to the AppSense website. If I now go into Word 2003 and go and find my custom dictionary, we'll see that that's been populated over time in the past with a number of words. What I'm also going to do now, just for this demonstration, is add in the actual time. So it's 12:57. I'm going to add that to my custom dictionary. So here I've now personalised a number of my applications. But it's not just application personalization that we want to take from this existing XP desktop. There's also personalization of the operating system. So here I'm actually going to make some further changes. If I go into my control panel and go to the date and time options, I'm basically going to pick a new location. So I'm going to pick a random location. Here I've set Bermuda, I've chose that at random. And one final change, I'm going to go into my accessibility options. I'm going to enable the sticky keys and also the toggle keys. What you can also see, I've previously set a custom background. So these are the critical elements that we see as AppSense that we want to be speaking to our customers, that these are the types of elements that we want to capture from that existing desktop, from the operating system and from these applications to take into our new desktop. Now, before I actually log on to the second desktop, my Windows 7 machine, I'm just going to show you that we're not actually using traditional methods of capturing the profile information. So if I go to my user account within Active Directory, we see that there's no roaming profile path and there's no remote desktop services profile path either. Before I actually log on to this desktop, the Windows 7 machine, I'm also going to show you that there's no local profile already stored on the endpoint. So when I do log on to the endpoint, the new Windows 7 desktop, it's almost as if it's the first time the user has logged on. When that user gets access to the desktop, immediately we can see that some of the desktop personalization has already come across. We can see that custom background has come from the Windows XP desktop into this new Windows 7 environment. Not only that, if I go into my control panel and we take a look at the region options, the location that I selected at random has persisted from XP to Windows 7. And also if I go to my accessibility options, we should also see that we've still got the sticky keys and the toggle keys enabled. So this is user personalization of the operating system coming across from a Windows XP environment to the new Windows 7. Now, not only have we captured desktop personalization, but there was also the capturing of the user's personalization by AppSense for a number of applications. The applications in the old environment were Office 2003. In this new desktop environment, we've not only gone to a new operating system, we've gone to a later version of the Office products. We've gone to Office 2010. If I actually launch Outlook 2010, what we'll be able to see is AppSense has the ability to inject that previously captured personalization from the old version of Office into this new application. So here we can see that we've persisted, the reading pane is still stored on the bottom. If I go and send a new email, we can see straight away that we've actually got the signatures have persisted. And if I start to type out an email, my NK2 file is populating this list with suggestions on who I want to send that to. If I take a look at the calendars, we can see straight away that it's still persisting the actual month view. And what I'm going to do is going to change that to week. Coming out of there, if I go into Internet Explorer, we can see that we've still captured the user's favourites, and now my home page is set to the AppSense website. If I go into Microsoft Word 2010, where we made modifications earlier to the user's custom dictionary, I'm going to select that in this new version of the application, and we can see not only if the old information has been persisted, but we've also got that time that I added in. And what I'm going to do now is just add a further time. So before I carry on, one of the things that we do differently with AppSense is we manage the user and manage the user's settings differently to a roaming profile. First of all, we don't capture everything that would normally exist in the user's roaming profile. We give IT the ability to select business critical applications and desktop settings, and we just target those applications and settings, and we ignore a lot of the bloat. The second thing that we do differently is we capture and apply these settings on demand. Capturing those settings and centrally storing the user's personalization in a personalization server, and then applying them as and when they're required. Using this method, this is where AppSense is abstracting or unlocking the user from the operating system and application delivery mechanism, basically meaning that now IT can now deliver a fit-for-purpose desktop, whether that's a new operating system or a new application delivery mechanism. Because AppSense doesn't care how the application is being delivered or to which operating system it's being delivered to, IT can deliver the one that best fits at that moment in time. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to further personalize this application. I'm going to go and change the settings from silver to black. I'm going to also tick a few of these boxes, and as you saw before, I changed that custom dictionary, added the new time, and I'm going to add some quick access toolbars here. So as I said, AppSense is capturing this user's personalization on demand, and this takes place as and when the application closes. So we're now capturing that user's personalization for Word 2007 and storing it in our personalization server, away from the OS, away from the application delivery mechanism. That basically means now that it doesn't matter that that was a locally installed version of Word 2010. It doesn't matter that it was actually delivered to a Windows 7 desktop. We've abstracted and unlocked that user's information and got that stored as its own entity in our personalization server. Because we can actually apply this user's personalization on demand, I'm actually going to show you now how, without even logging off that desktop, so keeping my user logged onto this Windows 7 desktop, I can log onto a new desktop. And as you can see here, not only is it another new desktop, it's actually a new operating system. I'm going actually up to a Windows 8 desktop now. Logging on as my same user, Tom Skase, on this Windows 8 machine. If I go to the desktop settings, again we can see that we've captured that user's personalization for the operating system. And not only am I going to show you how we can persist that personalization for that Word 2010 application without logging that user off, I'm also going to use a different delivery mechanism now to deliver that application. Before there were local applications in Windows 7, on this new Windows 8 device we've now got AppV technology delivering that same application. Because AppSense doesn't care how the application is being delivered or to which operating system it's being delivered to, we just see my user launching Word 2010 and we can inject that personalization from that previous session. So here we can see we've got the black background, we've got the quick access toolbars that I added at the top. If I go into the options area, I can see on the display area we've still got these tick boxes enabled, and going into the custom dictionary we should see that we've got both of the times. Now further to this, if I'm going to add one more, I'm just going to add this time now, 13:06. We see a lot of the time that when people start to talk, and the terminology of migration is usually seen as being a one-way path. Whether that's going from XP to Windows 7, XP to Windows 8, or it might even be going from Office 2003 to 2010, or even a physical desktop to a virtual desktop. We see more and more at AppSense that these transformation or transition projects today are not always just a one-way route to a new OS, application version, or application/desktop delivery technology. In many scenarios, there will still be old operating systems and legacy applications, and many users may be logging onto multiple devices to access their applications. So to show you furthermore how AppSense is better managing this user, I'm going to make a further change. I'm going to make a change and send this back to blue, click OK, and I'm even going to minimize this window. And because AppSense doesn't care how the application is being delivered, so this is again App V, and it's not just an upgrade. We can't just manage the user, capture their settings from a local and deliver it to an App V delivered version, and it now has to stay App V. We can actually capture that user's personalization in the new desktop and even persist that information back to an old desktop. So I'm closing down that App V delivered version of Word 2010 delivered to the Windows 8 machine, go backwards again without even logging this user off, and launch the locally installed version on a Windows 7 machine, and you can see that that user's personalization has come across for this application. So if I go in here and go and check my custom dictionary, we should now see that we've got all of the 3 times. So it's almost like we're treating this user, the personalization, as a single blob of personalization, persisting it as and when the user launches that application, however it's being delivered to whichever operating system it's being delivered to. Finally, what I'd like to show you is usually when we go through an upgrade, especially with an Office upgrade, from whether it's Office 2003 to Office 2007 upwards to 2010. That transition up to the final 2010 version of Office usually means that the Outlook profile is being upgraded. So once you have an upgraded Outlook profile, that profile cannot be used again on an older version of the Office products. But because AppSense can manage that user more effectively, we can actually have the ability, and I'm going to make a change to the user's calendar view here. I'm going to change this back to single day. I close this down on this Windows 7 device and actually go back now to my very first machine, this Windows XP desktop. And I'm going to launch that same application now, Outlook, but Outlook 2003. And whereas before there'd be an incompatibility problem, we see that this Outlook profile has allowed the user to log in, and we can see that the actual the user's calendars are actually persisted to a single day. So one of the things to highlight here, a user in a new technologies might actually be logging onto a number of desktops. And one of the things that we can do with AppSense user virtualization, it now frees up IT so they can actually start to concentrate on managing the user and not the device. Thanks for watching this demonstration.